Throughout the years of competitive Fortnite, there has been countless legendary duos, teams who have forever etched themselves in history. But with the era of duos coming to an end in 2024, we can confidently rank the top 10 duos of all time without it immediately becoming dated, unlike last time. The main factor for our rankings was competitive performance, with LANs and FNCS carrying the most weight. So there they are. Clutch Up's top 10 duos of all time. In 10th place is what may be the greatest OG duo of all time. They won the Fall Skirmish Finals and many Friday Fortnites. Tfue and Cloakzy, even seeing success in the FNCS era, coming 7th in squad FNCS Grand Finals with Fiber and Kanata. However, what really set them apart was their insane skill and chemistry. With this combination, they were almost impossible to beat. Good results? Good nostalgia, an epic way to start off the top 10. In 9th is the most under the radar duo on this list, Trulex and Chicho. From their start in Chapter 3 Season 1, they quickly got a reputation for playing an incredibly passive yet intelligent playstyle. They revolutionized mid-game, with Trulex even getting a base named after him. But being passive didn't mean they weren't incredibly skilled. Chicho is probably Fortnite's most underrated aimer. They never won an FNCS, but had an incredible consistency, placing top 10 4 times, including a 2nd place. But the real reason they make this list is from their incredible LAN consistency, making all 3 duo LANs and placing 3rd in the 2023 and 2024 Global Championships. So know when someone asks you, who is Fortnite's most underrated duo? You can say Trulex and Chicho. The next duo has dominated Europe for years. Malibuca and Merstach. From the end of Chapter 2 Season 7 to today, they have cooked. Their rise was quick, placing 7th in Chapter 2 Season 8, while in a spawn battle with Benjyfishy and Mr. Savage at Steamy Stacks. Insane for a contested team, but it would be in duos where they would establish themselves. Then they came 4th in Chapter 3 Season 2 and 2nd the season after. During this time, even if they struggled off spawn, they would pop off by dropping insane games when they survived. In an FNCS qualifier, they only won 3 out of the 6 off spawn, but each time they won off spawn, they won the game.
We cannot replace him.
In 2023, they split up, but as fate would have it, they would remain close, like in Major 1, where Merstach won, and Malibuca came 2nd by just 1 point. In 2024, they reunited as a duo, restarting with a bang and winning Major 1, followed by 4th and 6th in Majors 2 and 3. Malibuca and Merstach are a legendary duo whose mark on the game can never be forgotten. Coming in at number 7 is a duo you might not remember, but Stompy and Tschinken's run throughout the Duo World Cup qualifiers was legendary. Their worst placement in the Duo World Cup qualifiers was a 3rd place in week 2. After that, they won week 4 and 6 and came 2nd in week 8 and 10. With an average placement of 1.8 across all the qualifiers, this consistency against the best players in the world will likely never be matched. Following, however, was a fairly underwhelming World Cup performance, coming 25th. They quickly redeemed themselves by teaming up with Aqua in Season X and winning Trio FNCS. Although their run was short compared to many of the other teams on this list, their peak was insane. In 6th is a duo that needs no introduction, a legendary IGL Acorn and one of the game's greatest fraggers in Cole. They teamed up in 2023 and clicked, immediately winning their first FNCS together, and followed this up with 2 6th places in Major 2 and 3 and a 7th in the Global Championship. In 2024, they put up a dominant yet overshadowed year, winning Major 1, then following it up with a 5th and a 3rd, a legendary run that very few can top. Zayt and Saf are OG legends. They won a lot and won in style. They took a lead into the final game of the World Cup before dropping into 4th. Won ESL Katowice in such a dominant fashion, Zayt did this.
These are our points leaders. Zayt is in the open, taking the L.
They won Summer Skirmish Week 3, won FNCS in Chapter 2 Season 2, the only strictly mouse and keyboard team to win an FNCS in 2020 on NA East. They dominated NA for 3 years and pioneered how teams play the meta and high ground. This was one of Fortnite's most legendary and impactful duos, and will probably be in the top 5 forever. Queasy and Veno teamed up in Chapter 3 Season 3. They quickly left their mark, coming 3rd and qualifying to the FNCS Invitational, but it was on LAN where their legend would truly begin. Through 11 games, finding themselves 2nd behind Cammy and Setty, they then made the gutsiest call in Fortnite history, trying to land on 1st and steal the tournament.
He breaks through the wall. Shot's gonna be fired, and they do it! Become legends are on top!
This play failed and they ended up getting second place. Moving into 2023, they looked to bounce back. In Major 2, they bounced back to an inconceivable level, winning 6 games, including 5 in a row, then winning the tournament by over 150 points, barely trying in the final 3 games. After 11th in the Global Championship, they split. Their run was short but etched in eternity. Bugha and Mero, both hovering atop the GOAT debate, teamed up and went on one of the game's greatest runs in 2021 and 2022. They won the FNCS in Chapter 2 Season 8 with Muzz, and then followed it up by winning the Grand Royale with Dukes a few weeks later. When the game mode switched to duos, Mero and Bugha stuck together and completed the three-peat. They continued their dominance, placing 3rd and 2nd in the following FNCSs. At their best, they had an impossible-to-beat mix of talent, fragging, and intelligent play, making endgame after endgame and adapting to anything. At the time, this was the greatest one-year run ever, but has been surpassed by a duo ahead of them. In second is Cammy and Setty, who were in first on our last version of this list, teaming up in Chapter 2 Season 5 and getting instant success, placing in 6th. They quickly became famous for their split drops, which became known as Cammy Split, and their incredibly fluid low ground playstyle. They went from solid to iconic in Chapter 2 Season 8 when they won Trio FNCS and came 2nd in Grand Royale just a few weeks later. In Chapter 3, they were one of EU's most consistent duos, culminating in the 2022 Global Invitational, where they played some of the most inspired Fortnite ever, taking the lead going into Game 12, where they ended up on the winning side of perhaps the greatest moment in Fortnite history. After this peak, they continued to be one of EU's best duos, placing top 5 in Major 2 and 3 and coming in 2nd in the Global Championships. In 2024, they put up a weaker year by their standards, but still managed a 3rd place in Major 2. Cammy and Setty have been one of the game's greatest duos since 2021, and they are going into 2025 ready to keep it rolling. But before we get to first, let's go over some honorable mentions. 2023 Global Champions Cooper and Mero almost made this list, but their lack of longevity really hurt them. World Cup champions Aqua and Nyrox deserve a mention, but did not make the list for the same reason as Cooper and Mero. Benjyfishy and Mr. Savage, who had a legendary run competitively, and if it was based off of purely content, they may be number 1, but their placements don't quite merit a spot on this list. Mongraal and Mitro had quite a lot of success together across game modes as well, and would be the other candidate for best content. There is a new best duo of all time. Peterbot and Pollo, who formed at the start of the year but shook the Fortnite world to its foundation, having the greatest year ever. They started off strong, placing 2nd in the first FNCS Grand Finals and taking turns breaking solo elimination records in the Cash Cups. But in Major 2, it became clear within a few weeks Peter and Pollo were simply unstoppable. They won all 4 duo Cash Cups, including one where they won 5 out of 6 and another where they won 6 out of 6 games in the finals. They won both FNCS qualifiers and dominated the finals, finishing with 1,092 points in a legendary performance. In Major 3, they won again, just not quite as dominant as Major 2. Their back-to-back titles making them favorites going into the Global Championship, with Peterbot having not one, but 2 of the best solo clutches of all time. This cemented the three-peat and made them clearly the best duo of all time. In 2024, Peterbot and Pollo were simply the best players in the world by a large margin, and because of one incredible year, they will likely top this list for years to come. Iconic football coach Vince Lombardi once said, "Individual commitment to a group effort. That is what makes a team work, a company work, a society work, a civilization work." So maybe ranking Fortnite duos is just a bit more profound than you think. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, sub, and use code WeClutchUp in the Fortnite item shop.